They're back. They're back. Hold up. I'm not even a fan of BTS. This is Erico, back uploaded again on your computer screens. And you heard me right, I'm not actually a fan of BTS. While I respect BTS and all that they've done, and I do listen to their music, and back in the day I was a really big fan of theirs when they first started out, and when I was a big fan of K-pop. However, now I do not consider myself a part of their fandom or any type of fandom that has to do with K-pop. But there's another situation at hand, okay? Don't click off this video yet. No. I see you trying to get off this video because I have a lot more knowledge to drop on you here. So, with that being said, BTS has come back with their new album and it has topped the iTunes charts in not only America, no BTS fans, no fandom, not just in America, but in 65 countries. And not only that, but the video on YouTube debuted in the trending at 2 and then made its way up to 1 because the fandom continuously spammed the hell out of that video. Spammed it so much that BTS had to reevaluate their lives. They were like, damn, like we need to do more for our fans. However, BTS has become even more successful worldwide, and America continues to not really acknowledge them. They acknowledged them for a little while, but American media has not been paying too much attention to these very hard-working boys, and that being, people have been questioning, like, how come the media is not talking about this? How come the media in America is not talking about BTS and their huge accomplishment? And to just lay it all out there for you guys and to be completely honest and 100% real, like I'm always gonna be on the channel, is because America never cared about BTS. Moment of silence, y'all. Amazing. What they actually cared about was BTS's fans and their following. So what they did, they didn't mind having BTS on shows and doing interviews with BTS because BTS had a huge following. You know, they didn't mind. They knew that if they put BTS on this stuff, that the following of this group would come with them. So they didn't mind promoting them for that time. They didn't mind putting them in magazines because they knew that the fandom would buy these things. So really they were manipulating you all into basically paying attention to their own brands and their own shows. And I mean, that's entertainment for you, rightfully so. Everybody has to make their money, right? But it goes deeper than that because you notice there's not really a lot of Asian representation in American music at all. And there is enough Korean Americans, Japanese Americans, Chinese Americans to actually make this happen. But there's always been a problem because we have something called systematic racism in America. If you are not a certain group of people, if you're not a minority, sometimes you don't realize it. For some minorities, it's stronger than others. I do feel like that with Asians, East Asians, even Indians, that it definitely applies to them as well in different ways. But like with me being a black man, I face it every day, full front, full throttle in my face. And it can be very hard at times. Sometimes you don't notice it, sometimes you do notice it. Sometimes there are certain things that you run across that makes you think about it and reminds you of it. And I do feel like that sometimes with Asian people that it's really easy for them to kind of forget about this systematic racism, except for when it comes to like entertainment and certain things. This is something that has been for the longest time. It's not something that has just come into being. It's always been, especially once again, black people, we face it so much. And you might see some Asians saying, you know, like, I don't understand why black people talk so much about racism. So I don't know why they complain so much. Because you have to look at all the work we put in to get to this point. And even though it might look good from the outside, we still are going through stuff. There's still a long way to go, especially with equal pay in entertainment. That there are black A-list actors and actresses that are on the same level as their Caucasian, European, white counterparts, and they're not getting paid the same amount of money that they should be getting paid. And with Asian Americans, they're just not being represented in the right way. They're not being put in these top A-list roles to become A-list actors and actresses in the first place. Not unless you're someone like Lucy Liu, like kind of like seen as exotic. It can be very hard for an Asian singer, actor to really make it big over in America, because there's a systematic racism that says that they're not American, that they're not good enough, that we will not relate to them because they do not represent what apparently America is supposed to be. But you know, we always preach about that America is so diverse, but you know, that's the first thing that comes out of a lot of people's mouths, is that we don't know how to promote someone that looks, you know, Asian. Like, they don't know how to promote you. So it's like, we can't do anything with you. We don't see us, you know, promoting an Asian American singer because people won't relate to the image. And it's the same thing has happened to black people. I mean, black people had to go through the back door when they finished at their own shows. I mean, come on now. So black people in this instance, we worked so hard, and we're still working hard. So you might hear us still cheer and shout louder than maybe my Asian brother and sister. The best thing that you can do, and even in BTS's case, is to just keep pushing, because they had no choice but to let us into their entertainment and their movies, because we're always doing something that they like to be influenced by. I can't even be really negative and just say take. You know, I'm not gonna sit up here and like lie, like, but the best thing that you can do is really push and do something new. With K-pop, I don't think that America as a whole will relate to K-pop, because the guys, they're too flamboyant. And I'm not even saying that in like a negative way, but like the hair color, the contacts, the colorful backgrounds, that's not gonna work. In America, that's not gonna work. I mean, they probably would do better just going back to having black hair and taking all that stuff out and just looking like real normal, and then just doing all the songs that they would normally do in Korean in English, or mix and match. I don't know, mix it up, do something. But I don't think that America as a whole is gonna relate, because we still have a lot of problems with like just different gender fluidity and all that stuff like that. America has issues. We have a lot of issues, and it's something that you really have to be prepared for and be ready to jump in and fight. And I don't feel like that a lot of the Korean acts come over here realize what they're actually up against. It's a huge big machine, and you're not just gonna jump in here and just be popular. You're gonna have to work. I mean, really have to work. I mean, look at my race and what we had to do. You're gonna have to put in the work. We were marching in the street. We had to risk being shot at, lynched, all that stuff. So you know, that stuff, just because you're not black, you're still a minority, and you need to think about that stuff too. That there's a lot of racism still here. It's just not as blatant, and it's just not as outgoing as it used to be. But if you push for it, you know, you gotta push for it and make us look at you and say, okay, those boys have something. You know, like, I never listened to K-pop before. I never listened to Korean artists before, but they're actually really good. You know, I can't deny that they're not good. So that's what CL needs to do. That's what anybody over here needs to do. They need to get on the ball and put out that music that's actually gonna make an impact on somebody. I can't be watching a music video and I forget about your song like an hour after I listen to your music video. That's not okay. So, you know, they have a big fandom, but I think as far as really breaking into America, I mean, really making a dent, we talk about making an impression on the people that don't actually listen to K-pop. That's what you need, because there's a lot of people in America that don't listen to K-pop, don't care about K-pop, don't respect K-pop, because one of the things is a language barrier. Let's face it, there's some people that's just going to be like, I'm not listening to this because this is not in my language. So, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot to think about, you guys. This was a long rant. Please check out my social media, mostly my Instagram. I also have a blog where I talk about East Asian pop culture. The link will be down below. Remember, be real, stay real, live in the real. And I will be back. Thanks for watching.
Go straight up, I won't wait up. Life goes on and never stops, so sing it. Go straight up, I won't wait up.